Okay, here we are. January 5th, 01/05, 2024. 24. I don't write any checks hardly anymore, so it's not like, when you write a check for the first couple of days of the year, New Year, and you put the wrong year on there. And since you've backdated the check, oh my God, and the bank rejects the check. I actually have an error in the way in which I've depicted it. When you see the floating message on the top, well, at the very end of it, it has the date. And guess what? I have the wrong date. I didn't write a check. This is embedded. See, there you go, 2023. We'll have to correct that for the next time. But I'll correct the text up there so I don't copy the wrong date. Oh my God. Well, that's the way it goes. It's the 5th of January. There it is. So, we can go through our pictorial here and just see, I happen to have, Tesla's Cybertruck is 20% short on range. Range is, these guys gotta stop thinking about where you have your own garage and you have your own outlet in your garage and you just plug it in every night and yeah, no, that's not the way it is all the time. Some of us live in multifamily residences with, in my case, a structured garage that runs up four stories. And I know of only one outlet in there, which Marilyn can find. If not, I'll try it 10 o'clock tonight and move the car. So our parking spot is on the 368, number 368. So the outlet that I know of is 265. The good doctor, Dr. Brian. His parking spot is 266. It's on the column. So if spot number 265 is open, I go in there and I can plug in. Last night, of course, the good doctor needed to charge. And my arrangement with him is, since he's allowing me to use, it's his outlet. It's the building's column, and it's the building's power. But he paid, I think, $2,000 to have a electricity run to his down the column where he parks in 266, I think. So he sent me a text message a couple of nights ago and said, "Oh, sorry, I had to unplug you because I need the juice." Which which I told him, just unplug me and plug yourself in. Send me a text so I can run down there and get the cable so no one walks off with the cable. And so that's what happened. He unplugged it, and we were fortunate, it was in there long enough where she could get a good charge on there. So she got a couple hundred miles of range. We get the range on the battery is 290 miles. When we bought it, the range was 330 miles. Or 336, actually. But within a couple of weeks, that range dropped to 330, and over the last 2.5 years, it's come down to 290. And according to one of these apps I have here, which I can show you. Let's see if I can show you on here. Yes, stats. There we go. So you can see it over there on your screen. Okay. Oh gosh, I gotta go through all this. Just hang in there with me, folks. There you go. How about that? Yeah. Gotta do everything here. Okay. What else? Sinus. Okay. I got some. Yes. Come on, guys. How many times we got unable to share vehicle setup? Oh, gosh. So we can see the car. 259 miles. But that's not what I want to show you. All right, well, we can do it another way. Do I have the stats app on here? Oh, God. The app changed. So, it's asking all these questions. It takes up too much time. In the Tesla stats app. There it is. So now it's getting all the data. Of Unfortunately, you can't see it very well. So we go over here. One more. There we go. So you can see that graph. Yeah. Oh, look at that. You can see it. 97% efficiency, which is better than 75% of all the Model Y drivers out there in driver land. That's not what I wanted to show you. The interesting thing I wanted to show. There we go. This graph in the middle, it says battery health. You see that it's a line slanting downward. This is over this is over 16,000 miles. It's just 16,000 miles. So I did an expando. See, those are the dots, the points that it plotted on the range. And right now we've settled down to 290. So when you buy a car that says 336 miles in range, after a couple of years, you're at 290. You lost, 40 miles of range. So you're 290. But remember, they don't want you to use the top 10%, and they don't want you to use the bottom 10%, if possible. Yeah. So that's another 20%. So that's like, like another 50. That's another 50 miles. So you're at 290. Now you're going to take off another 50. So now you're 240. So, yeah, 240 is fine. You can go here, you go there, But if you're going on a trip, now they say if you're going to go on a trip, you can go ahead and use the top 10%. So that's another 29 miles you pick up. So instead of 250, you get 260, you get 275. But you don't want to get below the 10%. You don't want to drive into the gas station on fumes. You can be on reserve and all that, but, with electric, they don't have, there are 160,000 gas stations in the United States. Just the continental United States. 155,000 gas stations. That's actually the number. I rounded up. Let's just say. So 155,000 gas stations in the United States. Well, guess what? We don't have 155,000 charging stations. We've got about 40,000. So we have about 25% of, locations where you can get electricity and charge. Now they're not all fast chargers. I don't know. I haven't found out where, but there's got to be a spot. There's got to be some information somewhere. I'll search it over the weekend on how many Tesla charging spots there are in the United States. I don't want to see Europe and, all these, I live here, How many are in Florida? Or how many are in the United States? Because I know there's 155,000 gas stations. Because that number, I figured out a few years ago. How many Tesla charging stations are there in the United States? I'm just going to guess, okay? 15,000. Well, that's 10% of the number of gas stations out there. 15,000. Now, that's a lot of, I mean, these, if you've ever seen the charging station, it's not like a little dinky, you've got it. When you stick that cable in there, that cable has got 400 volts, at 50 amps or 75 amps. So, you got 250,000 watts. What? 250. You got to learn, you got to learn a new language when you drive an electric car. How many watts you got? What? No, I mean, these charging, the cable is, is thick. It's that big around. It's a big fat cable. It's like this big around. Okay? So it is a big, heavy duty cable. And you shove it in the side of your car. That does one. And it puts, 200,000 watts in the car. And it takes a while for those batteries to go through the electrolysis that it goes through, because it's a chemical process of moving those lithium ions back on the other side of the electrolyte, the cell. And of course, that chemical reaction creates a little heat. So they have to dissipate the heat, and the car has, a little method of, flowing ethylene glycol, which is the stuff that's in a traditional gas engine radiator, ethylene glycol. Anyway, that circulates through the battery and circulates through a radiator in the front of the car. And they got fans blowing out. So it dissipates, whatever heat is generated to keep the battery, below 90 degrees. Let's just pluck a number. If I were engineering that, I would say, hey, let's start flowing the ethylene glycol and run the fan when the battery goes over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And, that's a nice temperature. It gets too hot to touch, you got to start dissipating that energy, because you don't want that battery to, have runaway discharge. Any arcing inside, it gets over 90, you run the fan, and circulate the fluid, the ethylene glycol. Anyway, so when you charge your car, the battery tends to get warm. Now, if you charge it a lot, and you charge it fast, I should say, and these chargers, all the new chargers that Tesla is installing are 250,000 watt generators, or, energy suppliers. So when you plug in, it automatically logs into your car. This is the way the chargers work. You don't have any slot that, you got to have a credit card, and that credit card has to be, information has to be in a place in your car, so that when that plugs in, it goes to your card and, opens up a charge thingy, like you're going to a restaurant, authorizes the station to charge it. In South Florida, it's I got a cat in here going through Maryland's stuff, and I heard this shuffling around. I said, "Who's in here?" Anyway, so 250,000 watts is a lot of watts. What? They were 150,000 watts, and then they upgraded to 250,000 watts. And Tesla has given all the car manufacturers the opportunity to use Tesla charging stations, which that's like, holy mackerel. Now I don't need to buy a Tesla to have access to the Tesla stations, because Mercedes-Benz and Porsche and Volvo and General Motors and Ford have all agreed. You know, if you look at the, I mean, they got these huge things. I mean, really, the plug is like this big around. Really? Oh my God. You leave it to a bunch of electrical engineers to do this all by themselves. Yeah, it's just like, that's like stupid. Yeah, it's like, and if you look at the nice little, I mean, it's not little, but it's, it's like a garden hose, and you plug, fat garden hose, and you plug it inside of your car, as opposed to this thing that looks like a dryer vent. Anyway, so these car manufacturers, just about everyone that said they're going to make electric cars, have signed a letter and, or some kind of response to Tesla that, we want to use your charging stations, and please give us the specifications on the socket so that when we pull into a Tesla charging station, we slip that Tesla power cable right in an authorized plug. That will, number one, connect to your battery, and number two, connect to your system so that it can extract the credit card information, and it goes right through the same cable. Okay, so now embedded in that power is your credit card information, which flows into the thing automatically. You don't have to do a thing. You just have to make sure you have a card that works, or else it won't, it won't give you any electricity. I had a problem at one time, and it was it happened because our card, the date expired. You know how we had credit card fraud. Yeah, I think it was something like that. So they issued a new card. Had the same numbers all the way across, the 16 digits were the same, but they changed the expiration date, and they changed that little 3-digit doodad in the on the back of the card. Well, So then when Marilyn went in there to charge up, it went, so she calls me on the phone. She says, I can't. Okay, let me figure out how to do that. So I had to go through a couple of menus. There it is. Oh boy. And there's the place. Yeah. I don't know if I can show you here. You can see in the upper right corner, you see a picture that looks like a king, a king of hearts. I was a wise guy, so I put that in there. Okay, so then you go to account, and then you go to wallet. I mean, this is not rocket science. And then here's the cards. It'll use any one of these cards. Of course, that one's 4208. That's dead. That's a checking account. That's a lot. There's another checking account, and there's a debit card right there, 3747. Set as default. I should set that as default. There we go. All right. So it'll go there first, which is my debit card. Hopefully that doesn't go BIPSIC because that means I got nothing in the checkbook. Anyway, so that's how you set that up. It's not that difficult. You just have to know where it is. No, you know. So here you have settings, you have promotions, sign out, refer and earn, the Tesla shop if you wanted to buy something, charge your non-Tesla. See right there? Now I'll tell you how to do that. Let's just push it and see what happens. Search locations. So let's just put my zip code in there. 33432. See how smart this thing is. It's pretty smart. So you don't have to put it in. Yeah, see the Boca Raton. Let's just push that one. So it's going to show you all the places you can get electricity to fill your Tesla. So that's how that works. Anyway, so now you can see the king. Yes. Right. So non-Tesla cars starting in 2024. That's this year. So cars made this year supposedly by Ford, General Motors, and Volvo and all the rest of these, when they really start ramping up production, which I don't know of anybody that's really making tens of thousands of these things. I mean, Teslas are popping off the assembly line every minute. I mean, this is kind of like, really? I mean, these huge factories that Elon Musk and his, bunch of geniuses that he's hired through the years, it's in operation now, 13 or 14 years. So, and he's got a good, in the first couple of years, it was a place that looked like it might go, but he went through that curve, and that, that can devastate and kill many companies, especially ones like this, because it's so unique. But Tesla lived through it. And one of the reasons that Tesla lived through it is he designed a really good-looking car. I mean, this car is a really good-looking car. Well, he started off with the Model S. S like Sam. Sexy. The guy's, he may be a smart guy, but he's also a wise guy. So it's a Model S, a Model E, and a Model X, and then Y, sexy. Yeah, man, how ridiculous is that? But that's what he did. And the first car was the Model S, as in sexy. And the second one he designed, he, and all his band of smart guys, hardworking guys. Second one was actually was the X, as in sexy. And they're luxury kind of cars, with all the leather and all the the stuff you'd feel and touch, in a real nice car. And advanced battery technology back, basically. So the batteries were, like, what a AA battery looks like, right? Well, they used the, what they call it, it's a European battery. It's called an 18360, which is 18 millimeters in diameter. and 360 millimeters tall. 18,360. Yeah. I'm sorry, 18,650. 18 millimeters in diameter and 65 millimeters tall. So it looks like, a thumb, that size, instead of a double A, which is more of that size. Funny with my finger here. This is, you gotta have the imagination when you listen to me. All right, so the 18360 is a little taller than a double A battery, and it's a little bigger in diameter because it's 18 millimeters instead of a double A is probably like 12 millimeters. That's a little bit of a guess, but I've seen them next to each other. So, based on that European design, Panasonic, just so happens, has a machine that you can put in your factory that can pump out a whole bunch of those little batteries, the 18650s, because they've been making them, in Japan and Germany and so forth. These batteries, they put them in their flashlights. I mean, that's, double A battery is what's standing over here. 18650 is the battery that's over there in Europe. The European standard, including Australia and Japan. And maybe China. Not too sure about China. But anyway, so Panasonic actually knows how to make those batteries in big numbers. So, of course, Tesla, they went over and met with Panasonic. They probably met over in Fremont, California, so they could show them their factory. And they made a deal to manufacture a few billion of these batteries. So anyway, they stacked, you just imagine all these batteries, they're all lined up, in 14 packages, actually, of, 440 batteries per pack. I think it was something like that. If you multiply 400 by 14, what do you get? That's about, what's going on here. You get our little calculator here. I think it's 440 times 14. What's that magic number? That's it. 6,160 of these little guys. All lined up in 14, sub packages, we'll call it, that produces 25 volts each. Let's multiply 25 times 14. What do we get? 350 volts. Bingo! So if you have a package of batteries, those 18650s, it fit in a package that's about the size of my iPad here. I've seen the package. This is like an 8 by 10 package. Maybe it's 9 by 12, but they've got them isolated and grouped so that these cells that individually produce 3.77 volts. And they wanted the output to be 25 volts. So they have some in series, some in parallel. And so every package comes out with a socket down here of 25 volts and 100 amps. It's a lot of amps. And when you have 14 of them like that, it produces, 350 volts. Times, like 70 or 80 amps. That's a lot that's why that sucker can go 0 to 60 in, 3.5 seconds, because there's so much power that can come out of that battery, because you got 6,000 of these cells in there. So when you plug it in, it's a 350 volt cable, which is about this big in diameter. So that's pretty serious. So that's the story. And anyway, so the major car manufacturers agreed to use Tesla's design on using the Tesla plug. So that means they all have to agree that on 350 volts and 250,000 kilowatt fueling stations, so they have to sign on to that kind of thing, and because that's what the Tesla chargers have, and since they already have, I'm going to say 12 or 14,000 of them in the United States, probably 9,000 in Europe. That's quite an edge that Tesla had, but they gave up their edge because the guy is driven on trying to clean up the air. So as more people he can get to drive cars, even if they don't like Tesla, and they buy a Volvo electric car, he'd rather give up the competitive edge so that these other car manufacturers will build electric cars because they know they can use the Tesla station. Because otherwise, you're going to have 4 car manufacturers and they have different plugs. So they're going to have to get together and pick a plug sooner or later. They might as well pick the Tesla plug. Look at the design. It looks like a garden hose, with 3 prongs inside. And a couple of other sensors, wires, to grab your credit card information, because that zooms in that cable, to get you pre-authorized. So you've got to have a valid card. You don't have a valid card, you're not going to get juice out of a Tesla charging station. So make sure you have a backup credit card or something. So anyway, they all agreed to use Tesla charging stations. And since Elon Musk is a nice guy, and he's, it's like he's the big shareholder and started the company, co-founder and all this kind of stuff. He's just, oh yeah, sure, we'll let GM use our charging stations. Just wham. It's just now they probably sat around in conferences for for a month, but he comes off with it like it just came out of his head this second, which is probably not the case. I would imagine all these maneuvers are choreographed to some degree. And anyway, so he's opened up all the patents that are in the car, with all these, really amazing, like his whole engine design. He's opened up the patents on all the engines design. So if they want to build their engines that's similar or exactly the same as Tesla's motor, and if you've taken apart a Tesla motor, which I have watched videos of university professors that have taken apart the Tesla motors, and to see the ingenious components that are built into these motors that have never been put in motors before. And he patented them. That patented the design. Well, he opened up the patents. I'm sure the shareholders went crazy. Why are you giving away all your secrets? But, he wants people to build electric cars. And he's willing to give up all his secrets, to encourage car manufacturers, instead of testing your own stupid design and having it fail and a new design and having that fail and go through that learning curve, you can just use their designs and you pick up 12 years of experience of them burning out motors and all this stuff. and the power cables and the harnesses and all the way in which things are configured. He basically gave up all those plans. You can go right in there and see exactly how these things are designed. And you could copy the plans, give it to your engineers, and set up your factories to make this. Tesla makes their own motors. They don't buy good motors from Bosch. Bosch makes, the best electric motors and controls in the world. It's one of the best manufacturers. What we call OEM manufacturers. Other equipment manufacturer. That's what OEM stands for. Anyway, Bosch is an unbelievable OEM supplier of the highest quality controls and motors and things like that. And they have unbelievably, good motors for things like cars. But Tesla motors are probably better. I don't know that, but I'll tell you what, they are really good because they're not only motors, but they're generators. Because when you let up on the pedal, instead energy going into the motor to create the rotational force on the wheels, when you let up on the pedal, now you've got these things spinning, which, in a magnetic field, which could be self-energizing, right? Because the thing's already spinning. And then it pumps energy back into the battery. Well, I have an app that actually has, since we got 16,000 miles driven on the car, which is not a lot of miles, but it's 2.5 years worth of driving, round numbers. Got the car 2.5 years ago. We got 6 more months and the lease is up. Turn in the car and get something else, whatever that is. So they make their own motors. They make, a lot of their parts are so unique and special design that they make them themselves. Part of the factory is to make the parts. And they have little factories in the big factory. And this factory over here makes the motors. And that factory behind that makes the parts that comes into the motors. The housings, all the stuff. I mean, it's amazing. There were, at one point, 8,000 unique parts in a Tesla car, in a typical Model S. It's like 8,000, a little over 8,000 parts. That's like 8,100 parts. And that includes screws, you need 10 screws this size. Well, each one's a part. You add them all up, it's about 8,000 parts. Well, they got it down. They've figured out how to, in their big presses, they got these huge presses that exert millions of pounds of pressure to stamp out, like the whole rear end of a car that everything screws into. Well, there are like 80 or 90 parts that are usually associated with a segment of the rear end, underneath the metal that, that's painted, all, where the springs are mounted on and all that stuff. They pump out that thing that produces the whole back end. They got another one that produces the whole front end. And the battery is the middle. So they've engineered the case is actually, they call it a structural battery. Because that's the last time I looked at the engineering papers with the battery, it's like a 1/4 inch, 6 millimeter thickness of titanium. Okay, because it's strong and light. Because it was made out of steel, the battery would weigh 2,000 pounds. Because it's such a thick case. Because the batteries are, it's they're not radioactive, but they need to be protected, from the outside, rocks bouncing up underneath into the car, the floorboard. Well, that battery is right there. So if a big rock or stone jams up underneath the car, because of the way you're riding, Tesla doesn't want you to interfere with the batteries, crush them, start an electric fire. So the case is 6 millimeter. I mean, you can look at a tape. 6 millimeters is pretty thick. I have it. No, I can see this right here. This right here, this thickness of this thing, that's probably a 1/4 inch. 6 millimeters is about a 1/4 inch. I have hypodermic needles that are 5 millimeters long, the needle thing. Well, that's just about a 1/4 inch. I mean, you can divide 5 into 25. Here's my tape measure. All right, 6. I mean, you can see it right there if you could possibly see it. Let me see what 6. It's hard to get this autofocus to trip onto that, but anyway, you can see right there, 6 millimeters is a thick panel case all the way around. 6 millimeters of titanium. I mean, that's an expensive material. But Tesla does not cheapen up on the materials. Every screwed nut, everything about, they manufacture the pieces. There may be some things they buy, but I'll bet if the car it used to have 8,000 parts. It's probably got 4,000 parts now, because they figured out how to eliminate a lot of parts. Well, they don't have a lot of screws and nuts holding things together in the front end and the rear end, because they got this huge mega press. It's the biggest press known in a factory. And it squeezes out, aluminum. They have other presses that squeeze out stainless steel, 304 stainless steel, to make the Cybertruck, which is made out of stainless steel. And it's so thick that you can shoot a 9 millimeter gun at it and it won't go through. So your car is so a little bit, the Cybertruck is in a sense bulletproof. I mean, if you have a standard round of 9 millimeter ammunition, which is the standard ammunition there is, it's unusual that a bad guy would have armor piercing. It would not probably stand up to armor piercing parabellum, 9 millimeter parabellum rounds. So anyway, got off on a lot of Tesla stories here. But anyway, they signed, we're talking about chargers. So Tesla is they've signed arrangements with just about every car that's manufactured here or in Germany. Mercedes signed it. BMW signed it. So they've all agreed to the North American standard, this plug. And they'll probably do the same thing in Europe. I haven't following that because I don't really care. I'm not going to Europe. No, but, they'd be crazy not to. They probably got 9,000 charges over there. Have a little sip of Coca-Cola to wet my whistle. I'm yakking here for 49 minutes without a sip. All right, well, 4:23. Let's just take a look at my picture. That's where I got off. I hit that picture there with the Cybertruck. Here's my opening image. Look at that. There's my boy. Kino. We named him after an African coffee. There is a coffee in Africa called Kino. And there's another coffee named Kenya. And a third one, Caribou. So we named all our cats after coffees in Africa. And we had 2 dogs, 2 Min Pins, and we named them Mocha and Latte. 2 more coffees, American coffees. So we had Mocha, Latte, Kino, and Kenya. All right, so, have a little fun with the naming of things. We didn't name our children after coffees. Brennan and Daniel. Yep. It was kind of almost standard names. Daniel is my grandfather's middle or first name, I should say. Daniel Lawrence Bayless. My middle name is Lawrence. Our son's first name is Daniel. Oh, gosh. Let's take a look at these images and see. Here's an amazing. I mean, look at this. This is Halle Berry. Now, she's like 60-something. I mean, this is a recent picture of Halle Berry. I mean, you talk about skin smooth. There's no spots. There's no warts. I mean, that is a pretty stunning picture. Now, she's, got makeup and stuff on, but, it's not like a false face. It's, generally powder and stuff. And, all around the neckline here. And, it's pretty stunning. It says stunning photo of Halle Berry. It is kind of stunning. So that captured my attention Friday, January 5th. See, up on the very top corner of that picture I captured this image at 12:22 p.m. Friday, January 5th. And there you go, Halle Berry. Everyone is distracted by an otherwise stunning photo of Halle Berry. And I fell into that category. Here's another stunning thing. So this company, the Nebula capsule, I call it, by Anchor. Anchor makes all kinds of OEM gadgets. OEM, other equipment manufacturers. So they make it for themselves, or they make it for somebody else. But it's a projector. Get rid of that. It's actually a digital projector. There's a lens, focus, and behind there is all kinds of, autofocus things. And behind that is some kind of a LED light bulb. I'm assuming it's LED. A very powerful LED. And this can throw an image up, of about 7 feet diagonal, like an 85-inch TV screen. But you point that at a screen or point that at a wall, like in a conference room, and you can put up graphs and charts and, that kind of stuff. Pictures, movies. One of the smallest projectors with Google TV as, the operating system, so to speak. So here's some stuff about their projectors. This is 1,000 lumens, which is a lot of lumens. It's a measurement of light. And 1080p. So 1080 by 1920. 1080 pixels by 1920 pixels. The 1080 is the number of horizontal lines, and 1920 is the number of dots that is produced in each horizontal line. You multiply 1920 by 1080, and you end up with about 2.1 million pixels that are changing 30 or 60 times a second. I don't see the frame rates here, but I would say it's 30 frames per second. Well, that's a lot of data. You know, picture data is very complicated because you've got 1080 by 1920. I mean, that's how this array of pixels is thrown up on a screen. Each pixel can have a different level of brightness. You know, maybe 60 different levels of brightness. I don't actually know the number of levels, but it's got to be a lot of light levels. My guess would be, 50 or 60. And 30 or 60 times a second, this array of all this, 2 million pixels worth of data, and each pixel in that 2 million one, can have, let's say, 60 levels of brightness. Yeah. And you've got 16 million colors also. So, I mean, there's a lot of data just to put a single pixel on the screen. You got all these levels of brightness. You got up to 16 million different colors. I don't see the number of colors on here, but, it's 16 million or more. And you got 2.1 million of these things. Well, they're going to have all these different colors. So you multiply it all out. It's billions of different things per frame. Per frame. And 1/60th of a second, then another image comes up. And then another one. And they keep coming up. And that's what, makes, you can see the hand going across. Well, I mean, that's what's going on my screen right here. This is a little more resolution than that, but that you can see on your. Actually, when it comes across with the this live TV thing, that's what comes out. 1080p by 1920. That way, it's compatible with just about everybody. And then, of course, you got Jimmy talking. Well, let's go. But see, this is complicated stuff when they engineer these things. They opened up this is a picture of someone that has opened up a laptop. You can see the big battery there, and he's trying to unplug. There's a multi-pronged plug, that's the size of your pinky finger, and he's got a special tool with an edge on it that can lift that plug up without disturbing the integrity of the wires. And when you lift that up and you unscrew, there's a couple of screws laying down there, which you can see down here in this corner. And you see he's got this little tool right here that took the screws out. Then he can lift that battery up. He's wearing these gloves to prevent his skin either moisture or the oils, acids or whatever, that may be on your finger, so that you don't disturb any of these components that are on the circuit board. Anyway, he's getting ready to pull that battery. I just thought it was a interesting looking picture when you're talking about, electronics. That's another thing. Tesla has a very powerful computer, onboard computer. Oops, computer. My friend behind me, her name is Computer. Let's see if I can turn up my microphone a little bit. Computer, what time is it? Can you hear that? Computer, what time is it?
The time is 4:34 p.m.
Computer, where am I?
You're on 101 Plaza Real S Apartment 812 in Boca Raton, Florida.
Oh, thank you. It knows where we are. It's amazing, I have one computer arguing with another computer. I had this computer arguing with my watch. They're talking to each other. Hey, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be in charge here. Oh, jeez. Oh, look at this. Here's our leader. Here's Marilyn. In 2019, we're on the patio of this marvelous hotel in Delray Beach. On the avenue in Delray Beach, it's just about to start the parade, the 50th St. Patrick's Day, or I forget the number, 50, 51, 49, 48, something plus or minus 2 in the 50s. Maybe up to like 53 or 54. We haven't gone. We got to go to the one in February this year. I've got the camera equipment. We could go and snap a couple of pictures but get a spot just like this on the first level, which is outside. The parade goes right in front of you. It's the beginning of the parade. So we go on the street and walk up about 4 or 5 blocks, and then the parade is coming right at you. You have to be careful. Don't walk backwards. I did that once and I tripped. And I fell right on my buttski. Oh, it was such a blow. I went down. I went down pretty hard. And, you got a, let's say, $7,000 camera with a lens, Oh, and you got a $100,000 body. So you're trying to figure out, this is like space travel. You're going from here to the ground. And you're trying to land on the ground because you just tripped. And you're like flying. Oh, my God. Whew. So it's like slow motion. You're trying to figure out how do you land so you don't damage your elbow or your hand. And you want to protect this $8,000 camera. So I landed right on the back of my butt. It wasn't on the part you sit on. It's the part that would press against the back of your chair. But it was like the butt. Oh, it was probably the best way to land because nothing broke. And it was just right when I was taking pictures of part of the parade, and there happened to be a fire truck that was in the parade, and bagpipes and all that stuff. So you have all these. So I got press badges on. I can't reach the credentials anyway. Serious credentials, and so I go down with my camera, my credentials, and my butt. And these two big guys, you don't realize how big these guys are. And they just lift me up like I'm a, regular person, 175 pounds, whatever, 5'8". And So they set me up on the side of the platform, that was being pulled by these fire trucks. And they said, "Well, how are you?" I said, "I don't know. Don't let go. Just stay with me for, a couple of minutes until I can figure out if there's anything broken." Because that was a hard blow. I was going backwards at the rate of, the parade is moving at like, let's say 3 miles an hour. So I'm going 3 miles an hour backwards on my feet while I'm trying to maintain the focus, of all these bagpipers while I'm going backwards. My one foot tripped over the other foot. I didn't trip over anything on the street. I didn't trip over a rock or a stone or a beer can or a plank of wood. No, tripped over my own darn feet. And I almost broke some serious pieces. But nothing broke. It just, the shock, bam, just, it was terrible. I didn't land in the dirt. There's a little cushion with dirt or, grass and dirt. But when you just hit the street, so now your butt is, this is getting the brunt of 170 pounds of some dumbass that's going backwards and going to hit the street. And all of a sudden, bam! And these two, EMT guys jumped off the fire truck and rescued me. And they on both arms, they just lifted me up, like I was, a little tiny thing. Because they got all these 25-year-old muscles, and they had a good hold on me. They lifted me straight up. And they said, "Well, you look like you're pretty good." I said, "Yeah, don't go. Can we just go backwards and, maybe you can put me on that platform that's right behind us. That's not moving. It's on the side of the street near where the beginning of this parade starts." Marilyn, meanwhile, is that picture I showed you before. She's sitting there, sipping a mint julep or something. And here I posted. She said, "Oh my God, you almost broke everything, and you're, like 1,000 feet in front of me." I said, "Yeah, these two guys saved me." I don't know how long it would have taken me to actually get up if I had to get up myself, because I'd have to roll over like a dog. So you're on your all fours. And now I'm on my all fours and I have to figure out how to get up on my all twos. Like two legs. So they picked me straight up. And I straightened out. And I can feel my feet on the ground. And I said, "Okay, now back me up and put me on that trailer. Just so my butt's on that trailer. Just rest me against there." And they did that. I said, "Now don't let go. Let me just figure out what's going on here." So I moved around a little bit, and I stretched out this way and that way. I said, "Oh God, what did I do?" I said, "Gentlemen, I think I'm kind of okay. So thank you very much. And go to 4161100.com and you'll see pictures of the camera going up in the air and, geez, because that was live video." Oh, wow. So that was one of those parades. That might be the last day that we did a parade. So every time we go, Marilyn is worried that I'm going to fall over and break something. Then you're in a hospital for 2 weeks and, they put steel plates and all kinds of crap in you. I didn't break anything. I may have weakened something, but, it was just a couple of years ago. So I think whatever happened there. Oh, yeah, see, there's Marilyn right there. I was talking about her. She's right there in the picture. Anyway, there it is. Yeah, there she is. She's Got her little hat on. Yep. She was 27 years old when I got lucky enough to meet her. And I was like 30, 27, 34, 33. 33 and 27. We're about 7 years apart. And she is a star. You hate to say was, but when I met her, when she walked in a room, you just have to, there was something magnetic about this person. She'd walk and everybody would be watching her as she walks through a room. Like in a cafeteria or you're in, a coffee shop or whatever. She goes to the ladies' room, and then when she comes back, I can see everyone is watching her come back. I mean, it's unbelievable. She's just like magnetism. She's just so stunning, attractive. You wonder what TV show is she on, And when she was 27, this picture is, she's 70. I mean, Jesus Christ. Look at that picture. I mean, she's amazing. And when she was 27, she was amazing for any other person that's in their mid-20s, mid to high 20s, or whatever. And she was always, people would guess her age. They always miss her age by 15 years. Yeah. She's like 45 years old. And I guess there's, 32? I mean, it's like amazing. She always looked, I figured it out one time. She's always, and I told her, I said, when people guess your age, they miss it by about 14 years. Oh, she doesn't look 70 either. Because you've seen 70-year-old people on the TV all the time, and they don't look like this person. No. So, what else we got? See, I mean, it's the same thing like Halle Berry. Now, she's like 62 or, low 60s. I mean, you'd guess her is 32. You wouldn't think she's 62. No way. She plays some tough critters in the movies she's been in. Anyway, so they're talking about, operating system iOS 18 for, your phones. These little computers that we carry in our pockets. You don't realize, I mean, I'm a guy, an engineering guy since I'm 5 years old. I mean, I took apart clocks, anything that looked complicated inside, I would take it apart and have all little pieces laying around there. And my mother said, "What have you done with that clock? It's one of our antique clocks." I said, "No problem, Mom. I'll put it back together." You want to watch me? So I put it all back together. I had no spare parts. Everything got back into this little case. And I said I lubricated everything and dusted off all the gears. And now now it ticks. Tick tock, tick tock. And yes, that's 6, 7, 8-year-old taking apart clocks. And they didn't have YouTube telling you how to do it. YouTube is amazing. You go in there and search for stuff on YouTube. It's unbelievable how valuable that is. Because everybody's a TV star, so they all want to make really interesting productions for everything there is. How do you replace a piston in a car? I mean, they have cameras from different angles, and they're unscrewing things, and they speed it up so you don't have to wait for them to unscrew 18 times. It's just like that. It's like fast hands, Stunning. All right. 1 hour and 15 minutes, I'm done. You guys have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you very soon. Maybe early in a couple mornings. But I'm going to go off the air.